Good afternoon, almost. I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch. And so I'm probably going to make you more hungry. We need more women in the C-suite. Why? Research shows that women, when they are in the top roles, companies are more socially responsible, and they have safer and higher quality customer experiences. In a Harvard Business Review article that was published in April 2021, the authors analyzed 150 companies, and they found that when women were in some of the top roles of the companies, they didn't just bring new perspectives, they actually changed how the companies thought about innovation, allowing those companies to consider a broader range of strategies to create value. Women change how companies think. But according to an article published by IBM on March 8th, 2021, which happened to be International Women's Day, they shared that women only made up 10% of the top roles in companies in 2020. And there's been no change in that percentage in 2021. So why are the percentages so small? Why aren't they changing? What's the missing ingredient? I believe it's sponsorship. And in addition to the traditional form of sponsorship where someone of influence takes someone else under their wing and guides their career, there's three others that are critical for change. As Sandy shared, I'm the Chief Customer Officer and Chief Human Resource Officer for Encore Electric Delivery. We're the largest electric transmission and distribution company in Texas. My journey to one of the top roles in the company is one I would have never imagined. And it wouldn't have happened without 4 forms of sponsorship. And by the way, it started with food. I love to cook. And in fact, my college degree is in home economics education. So, depending on how old you are, you probably don't even know what that is. But back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, utility companies hired professional women with this degree. And we worked with customers, teaching them how to efficiently use electricity. We did cooking events, and we created recipes for bill stuffers. It was really a great job. So my opportunity to apply for the role was a result of a form of sponsorship. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes, but first, back to my love of cooking. So I have a number of tried and true recipes, and then I also like to try new things. As a result, I own a lot of cookbooks, and I watch a lot of cooking shows. One of my recent favorites is a Netflix show some of you may have seen called Salt, Fat, Acid, and Heat. Yeah, it is unlike any other food show I've seen, and the host, Samin Nosrat, is unlike any other host. So in her show and cookbook, she makes the case that there's 4 key ingredients to good food. And if you master those, you master the art of cooking. So Chef Samin's journey to good food is unique, and so is my career journey. But I think both provide good food for thought. The first key ingredient, Chef Samin says, for good food is salt. Salt is fundamental to all good cooking. It brings food to life. It makes food taste better. What I've learned over time, it's not about how much salt you use. It's about using just the right amount of salt, adding it at the right time, and tasting along the way. When I get it right, it takes my scalloped potatoes from good to awesome. Mentors is the first type of sponsorship that I'm going to talk about. And just like salt is fundamental to good food, mentors are fundamental to a career. I've had a number of mentors throughout my career, but there's 3 in particular that have been very instrumental. And one, more than any, showed me the importance of networking and inclusion. She was a trailblazer with respect to including minority and women companies in our supply chain. And I watched as she pushed for culture change in the company that led to the company being recognized externally based on our results. I've used it as a model for culture change throughout my career, and I remain a champion of our supplier diversity initiatives as a result. Just like trying different kinds of salt in food, mentors and different kinds of mentors are critical for a career. We need to find mentors that are different from us, bring different perspectives, and more importantly, they could be a coach, a friend, a colleague, a parent, or even a former employee. The next key ingredient to good food, according to Chef Samin, is fat. Fat is flavor and texture, and it modifies other flavors. So Chef Samin says the best way to appreciate what fat does for food is to imagine cooking without it. Well, I don't have to imagine. When I was first learning to cook, I left the oil out of a cake batter. And of course the cake baked fine, even looked like it, rose a little bit. But oh my goodness, it had a cracker-like texture, and frankly, it just wasn't edible. So the second form of sponsorship that I want to tie to fat is a connector. Connectors are the flavor on a career journey. A connector is someone you find through networking, like we're doing here today. They introduce you to others that can lead to opportunities. They may or may not have influence. It was actually a connector that led me to my first opportunity with the company. I had moved to Dallas, Texas, and I was networking to find a home economics teaching job at one of the high school districts. I had met the woman who had the responsibility for all of the home economics program, and she and I had talked several times. One day she called me. She said, I have a friend who's a home economist for Texas Power and Light. She just got a promotion. You should go apply for that job. Well, I had heard about those type of roles when I went to school, but I was like, never saw it. It is an opportunity for me. So she introduced me to her friend. I applied for the role, was interviewed and hired. Without that connector, I wouldn't be at the company today. Connectors are the flavor that can really change a career path. According to Chef Samin, the third key ingredient to food is acid. Now see, I love the comparison of acid to the third form of sponsorship, and that's an advocate. So Chef Samin says, acid in food is like the pucker in lemon and the sour in sour cream. So I'm known by my family and friends as making some of the best mashed potatoes ever. And when people taste them, they say, these are really good. What's in here? Well, my secret ingredients are adding sour cream and cream cheese. It brightens my mashed potatoes. That's the same thing an advocate does for a career. An advocate is someone who pushes publicly for promotions for their protege. They speak up for them. One of the most important advocates in my career was a former boss. There was a company transaction that was contemplated that part of the business was going to spin off. And I was slated to go with that business as the HR executive. At the last minute, the transaction was called off. I didn't know if I'd have a role at all with the company and certainly not an officer role. Little did I know, behind the scenes, this person, this officer, was speaking up for me, and it led for an opportunity to go back to customer service and be a vice president in a new role with responsibility for Encore's relationship with the city of Dallas. Be that advocate that speaks up for the women leaders at your company. Like acid does in food, it won't go unnoticed. The fourth key ingredient, according to Chef Samin, to good food, is heat. She says heat is the element of transformation for food. For example, it takes food from pale to golden brown. So if you think about a grilled cheese sandwich, are y'all getting hungry? When you get the heat right, the bread is toasty brown and the cheese is melted on the inside. That's the same thing that an opportunity giver does for a career. An opportunity giver is someone who gives you the opportunity for a project or a role that transforms your abilities. For me, the most important opportunity giver was the company CEO. I was in a director role in human resources at the time, and my boss and several others had announced their retirement. During a company-wide management meeting one day, he came in and tapped me on the shoulder, asked me to come out in the hallway. I thought I was in trouble. When we got outside, he said, "We want to promote you to an officer, and we want to move you to run supply chain and procurement." I said, "I don't know anything about supply chain." He chuckled and he said, "You'll learn, but more importantly, you know how to lead." He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And he gave me an opportunity for a role where I built both my business and financial acumen. For women, roles where they have profit and loss experience are often out of reach. Be that opportunity giver for the women in your organization. The job I have today is a culmination of all those different experiences that I've had throughout my career. And I don't share it to brag. I share it to say it's possible for anyone with sponsorship. If you're in the C-suite already, I hope you'll use these different forms of sponsorship to help other women get there. And men in the room, you're well positioned to be our allies. If you're on your own journey to the C-suite, keep a journal of your mentors, connectors, advocates, and opportunity givers. And remember to thank them in writing along the way. I hope you'll use Chef Samin's 4 key ingredients for good food, but more importantly, that you'll use the forms of sponsorship, all 4 of them, to help women leaders in your company. If we all do that, we'll have more women in the C-suite soon. Thank you.